You're welcome to yet another time where we will look at what is going on in the financial and business market of Nigeria's economy, what the foreign exchange inflows are, what business and marketers are going through at this period of time, looking at the naira as against the dollar, looking at subsidy removal, looking at some of the economic policies by the Central Bank of Nigeria and the federal government, the impact so far, and what are the ways forward, and certain things that the government of Nigeria are trying to look in to increase our revenue generation potential in the country. Welcome to Business and Finance on Echo Television International. I am Rachel Tanzi, and we are having reports coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria that there have been an increase in our external reserves, and we're looking at an increase of over 2.83%. We are looking at billions of dollars inflow into our reserves, and as a result of certain measures that have been taken by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now we are seeing that our foreign currency reserve has increased to $34.11 billion. As at March, we are looking at this month so far, the year 2024, than the previous 33.17 billion at the beginning of the year. If you can remember, we had a continuous decline in our reserves. We had some highs and lows for the year 2024, but 2023. But we are now seeing that compared to what was recorded in January, we are looking at finishing the third quarter of 2024 with an increase in our foreign external reserves. Now, what this means for us is that we are starting to see some stability in the economy, as it suggests that the country has enough foreign currency to meet its international obligation and manage any potential economic shocks. So we are seeing that this means that the CBN will be able to stabilize some of the forex crisis that we have been going through if our reserves continue to see an increase. Now we are having the Central Bank of Nigeria announcing a remarkable upswing. This is as a result of diaspora remittances. So it's not because of the activities within the country, but this inflow and upsurge that we are seeing is as a result of diaspora remittances, where we are seeing a soaring 433%, which we are reaching $1.3 billion in February, now compared to what was given of $300 million in January. So we can see why there's this much increase, and it's coming from diaspora remittance, not the activities within the country. This is solely the responsibility of external activities, and that is why we are seeing our external reserve increasing. Now, we have also seen that one of the reasons is that foreign investors are pumping over $820 million into the forex market. Now, this is a report from the NAFEM, that is the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market. This is where these investors are putting in this much money into the economy, and therefore we are seeing this percentage growth of over 2.83% growth in our external reserves. Now let's look at a little of the breakdown week on week. Now there's been a 1% increase week on week accretion in the foreign reserves to 34.02 billion. That is as still in March, the first week, and now we are in the second week, seeing a different increase owing to foreign capital inflow evident in the year-to-date foreign net inflows of 822.6 million through the NAFEM window. We have said that that is the autonomous foreign exchange market. Now, as at the end of last week, we are looking at 1.55% as the dollar was quoted at 1,627, weaker than 1,602 as at the dollar, that is the naira as against the dollar. Now this is the prior week, and this was released by the FMDQ Security Exchange. Now these are all platforms for exchange, and where we know we get statistics for the import and export window, as it is now, where we have who determines what the naira exchange for to as against the dollar. Now this, we are also seeing that, well, whatever be the case is whether we are having a free fall or a stability in the Naira exchange to the dollar, we are seeing that the cost of clearing vehicles continues to rise. And this is a complaint coming from importers. And the CBN is not backing down as what will be the exchange rate for importers, most especially for vehicles, and we are looking at the exchange duty. Now, let's look at this report starting from June 2023, because this concern didn't just start in the year 2024. It has been a problem for importers concerning the exchange rate and what it means to clear even an old model of vehicles into the country. Now, as at June 2023, import duties had surged from 422 naira to $1. Now, it is staggering at 1,417 as at February this year, 2024, and it has increased because recently we are seeing that the CBN have raised the custom duty exchange rate by 1.1%. Now, at the end of, we're looking at February, this exchange rate was at 1,488. But today, with the 1.1% increase, we are seeing this exchange rate not only climbing from 1,560, but we are from 1,544, but we are now at 1,560 naira to $1. Now, this is where the challenge is for importers, because we saw where the CPPE, that is the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprises, have asked the central bank, they are playing, that let the custom peg their exchange duty rate at 1,000 naira to $1. Obviously, this has fallen on deaf ears, while we are seeing that the Central Bank of Nigeria have moved ahead and they're not reducing it, they're not pegging it at 1,000 naira. They are not even leaving it as where it was of 1,400, but we are seeing them increasing it by 1.1%, which is significant, to now it's standing at a point of 1,560. So is that the Central Bank of Nigeria are saying, you know what, we have to do this is for a reason. Despite the foreign inflows in the FX market, despite we are seeing that there is some stability and our external reserves growing, they are saying we are not going back. We are not staying at the same position. We are not listening to CPPE to peg it at $1,000, and definitely we are going to increase it. And what this means for the importers and even for the consumers of this vehicle is that the cars of average price vehicles are going to go high. We've seen numbers in the past previously where we cannot stop overemphasizing it, where a 2006 model of a Toyota Corolla car is being cleared for over 5 million naira. This is more than 3 times what this importer was able to buy this car. And we are not talking about company tier leather. That is our language here. Tier leather means nobody have ever used it. We are looking at second-hand used cars. We are looking at fairly used car. We are looking at cars that have been used before by someone and now coming into the country. It is more expensive than a brand new car. And we have importers now saying, you know what, we cannot go with this exchange duty price. We are abandoning cars at the seaport, and we are seeing congestion. We are seeing report of congestion at the seaport. We are seeing that importers are saying the cars can stay there. This means bad business for everybody. For the customs when it comes to generating revenue, for these importers, because this is where they make ends meet. And then for a consumer that is an average Nigerian, which of course cars are not luxury but a necessity. Now we are looking at cars that could be affordable to an average or middle class person, now becoming very expensive. And this will definitely going to add to the hardship, current hardship in the country. And people might make statements such as, are we going to focus just on food, or are we now going to deal with cars? And then it's unfortunate that some of the effect, the very direct effect of surge, is that something as a necessity becomes a luxury, and we're looking at cars, which is should be a need, is a necessity, will eventually start looking like luxury, and people will have to keep compromising their standard of living. And this means that our standard of living to certain consumable goods is definitely going to decline. Now, we have a report here showing how, due to our weak currency and other economic policies that are not yet favorable, we are seeing that we are falling out of the top ranking in Africa. Now, let's look at what country is beginning to overtake us, and it's just because of our weak currency. Now, we are seeing that Algeria is to push us to fifth position on nominal output. And then we are seeing that our GDP is returning to 2007 level. We should be growing closer to $1 trillion mark about 15 years ago than now. And then we are seeing that the country is facing potential reclassification of low-income economy, because now it's almost like there's the existence of middle class is getting extinct. You're either poor or you are very rich. So we are now going to the reclassification of what is even a low income economy in the first place. Now we are seeing that the CBN is at a crossroad over inflation, FX speculation, interest rate adjustment, which we'll be looking at that, because the interest rate has been increased and it's a significant, very high. Well, this is an effect of not having an MPC meeting from December, January, and now February, and then what we have currently. Now we are seeing that the MPC meeting have been held. We know what the MPR is as for the year so far, and then we will be looking at that shortly. Now we have a data from the International Monetary Fund now has picked Egypt to lead the African economy with a nominal GDP of $398.4 billion, a margin of 2.4% higher than the estimated value of that of Nigeria, the hitherto regional leader. Now we are seeing that Egypt is awaiting the full GDP figure for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. Meaning, before that report, these are reports for prior year, just for 2023. And what will it be like for 2024 if we are seeing that Algeria is most likely going to push us from our position to fifth position? Now, let's wait and see. Having good news that our external results are increasing from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Probably other things will follow suit, and then we will be able to retain our ranking, where we are seeing IEU are giving us a better ranking of prior to what they gave us in 2023, that we are going to have a 2.5% increase in our GDP. So let's wait and see how things will unfold for the next quarter, the second quarter of 2024. But this is where we stand as at the first quarter of 2024. Now, amidst many other policies review and new steps taken by the central bank to strengthen our naira as against the dollar, we are seeing that the Central Bank of Nigeria has resumed sales of dollar to Bureau de Change operatives. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has formalized dollar sales to Bureau de Change operators after a 3-year break, but this is not without putting in template or mechanism to make sure that we are not going to start seeing a parallel market that is outrageously different from the official market. Now, some of the policies that have been put in place starting 2023, that is the unification of the naira official market and the parallel market, was to unify the exchange rate, which led to the floating of our currency, which obviously so far haven't been favorable to the naira. But one of the major steps by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration was to see that there is a unification of the currency, therefore breaking even that the parallel market does not exist, where we know as the black market or the Bureau de Change operative, and then we have an official market. So we have a point where our exchange rate, regardless of which platform is being exchanged, is the same. That is unification of the exchange rate. Now, looking at the importer and the exporter window, how it has given room for a free fall to our currency. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria have no option but to bring back its transaction with Bureau de Change operatives. But then they have put things in place to make sure that we will not see that kind of outrageous difference where the official market will be perhaps selling at 500 naira to $1, and then we will be having the parallel market selling at 800 naira. They want to see just about 1% difference at the parallel market as compared to the official market. Now, we're seeing that after several appeals, the Apex Bank has made a U-turn as each BDC will be eligible to buy $20,000 weekly from the Apex Bank at a rate of 1,301 naira to $1. Now, the BDC in turn are allowed to sell to end user at a margin not more than 1% above the purchase rate from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Not more than 1%. They are getting it from the Central Bank of Nigeria at 1,301 naira to $1. And they are not to sell it above 1%. That is how much difference between the central bank and what you will be able to get from Bureau de Change operatives. They are buying from the central bank at 1,000. I am laying emphasis on this so that when you go to change your dollar, when you are transacting at the parallel market, you should know that they are getting it from the Central Bank of Nigeria at an exchange of 1,301 naira to $1. Therefore, you are not supposed to buy more than 1% from what they are getting it from the Central Bank of Nigeria. This is a circular. It is out there. It is a policy that the Central Bank of Nigeria has put, and you should do more of your own research, more of your own reading, especially if you know that your business trade directly with this Bureau de Change operative. Because in the past, we shunt the banks and we prefer to go to Bureau de Change operatives because we get higher value. Now you should know that what you're getting is not going to be more than 1%. And also for personal individuals, that is not for business, and you want to change for one reason or another, be it for traveling. But we have seen also that the central bank have also said it is for business traveling allowance, that is the BTA. It is going to be cashless. So we are also looking at this money coming. So you will still have no other option but to transact with your bank. But for some reason, you happen to have this dollar in your hands, cash, and you are going to your Bureau de Change operatives or however the transaction is. You should know that this is the price they're getting it from the Central Bank of Nigeria, 1,301 naira to $1, and they are not supposed to sell to you above 1% from what they have gotten from the Central Bank of Nigeria. And yes, finally, the MPC meeting took place and the MPR is now 22.75%. Now, this is very high. And well, we've not had an MPC meeting since December, January, and then we've now had it, and it is at 22.27. Now let's 0.75. Now let's look at what this implies and how the Central Bank of Nigeria got to this position, why, and what it will be for businesses. We already know what it means for business. A lot of businesses are going to be tensed with such interest rate. Now, we are looking at the monetary policy rate being raised by a 400 basis point from 18.75% to 22.75%. That is a very high percent. We are looking at 4% increase. That is high. Now, the CBN also adjusted the asymmetric corridor around to the MPR to plus 100 over minus 700 from plus 100 slash minus 200 around the MPR. So we can see we're still having a plus 100, but the minus is from 700 to 300. Now, the CBN Governor Cardoso disclosed this while briefing journalists on the outcome of the monetary policy, which was held recently. Now, Cardoso disclosed that the MPC raised the cash reserve ratio, that the CRR to banks, to 45% from 32%. The MPC, however, retained the liquidity ratio at 30%. Cardoso said that the decision is to jerk up the NPR was to tackle the high rate of inflation and the large volume of liquidity in the system. Now, we know very well that in as much as there is a reason to tackle inflation and then the large volume of liquidity in the system, we are seeing that this is going to mean bad business for small businesses or even any size of business at large, because when we are looking at an NPR that is at 22.75%, this is high. And this is directly to the commercial bank. Don't forget that you are not dealing with the Central Bank of Nigeria. So we are most likely, that's how it has been, going to see a different rate from the commercial bank, from our direct money deposit banks, and all of that. So yes, a lot of businesses are cringing to this NPR because it is high. It is a jerk up that is very massive to a large essence, from 18.75 to 22.75%. A 4% increase is high, and a lot of businesses are not going to be smiling as it is now. Now, let's look at what the oil and gas sector have added to the GDP of Nigeria. This is a report for 2023. Of course, we're just starting the year 2024, so it's early to know exactly what, and the first quarter is yet, we're yet to be done with the first quarter. So these are reports for what the oil and gas sector have been able to add to the Nigerian economy for the year 2023, precisely the fourth quarter, that is the last quarter of 2023. Now let's look at how from the figure is a decline from the 5.48% contributed by oil and gas sector recorded in the second quarter of 2023. And what is the number now? This is it. The oil and gas sector contributed a paltry 4.70% to Nigerian gross domestic product. Now, while the non-oil sector contributed a whopping 93.30% in the third quarter of 2023. Now, this is a report from the Bureau of Statistics, our National Bureau of Statistics. Now, despite this being a decline from what was gotten at the third quarter of the year 2023, we are seeing that what was gained, in as much as it's not a bad figure, was less than what was gotten in the third quarter of the year 2023. Now, we know that the GDP is a measure of total value of all goods and services produced in a country over a given period of time. So we are seeing that our GDP, thanks to this, is a growth that was reflected through the oil and gas sector, grew by 3.46% year on year. This is by the fourth quarter of the year. That's as the year was closing in. This is the total average sum of first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter all together. This is the figure that we were able to get. So yes, we still have our oil and gas sector adding up to our economy. And we are seeing that in as much as we also have the non-oil and gas sector doing well, we have that our oil and gas, which is what we are most dependent on, hasn't failed us yet. But we are hoping that the federal government moves into other sectors apart from oil and gas. And in as much as the federal government is moving into other, we are still seeing that the federal government is trying to see how they can tap from the carbon market. That is, there is a potential of $2.5 billion to be gotten from the carbon market. And then we are seeing that the federal government of Nigeria, championed by Vice President Shettima, have set up and inaugurated a committee, an intergovernmental committee on carbon market plan to be activated, and precisely the ACMI, that is the Intergovernmental Commission on Carbon Market Activation Plan. They are saddled with the responsibility to create a blueprint to drive an efficient, sustainable carbon market ecosystem in the country. Now, when this committee was inaugurated, the aim is to delve into every other the carbon market that we are not yet tapping for. Let's forget that we have other minerals, and apart from gas and oil, there is more that could be gotten out from or generated from the minerals we already have. And this is solely the aim for it, that you know what, hope we're not leaving money on the table, hope we're not leaving resources wasting. And of course, the carbon market has the potential to give us $2.5 billion. And of course, the federal government is saying, you know what, this is a money that Nigeria cannot leave whatsoever, and we have to tap into it. So yes, President and Vice President Shettima have inaugurated a committee for that, to see that this initiative will attract crucial investment, catalyst emission reduction, and foster sustainable development. Yes, when we talk about climate change, carbon emission is one of the highest, and this will bring a reduction into it and foster sustainable development. We have to look at other solid minerals. We have to look at other ways of sustainable development, sustainable energy, renewable energy, and all of that. And this is what the carbon market has to offer for the Nigerian government, so that not only would we be leaving money on the table, but we will also have a better system, and then eventually be able to help out, because we have COP28 and we talk about climate changes and the things that threaten our ecosystem. These are some of the things that we hope to benefit from the carbon market, not only the monetary value, but also what it means for our climate, what it means for our environment entirely. Thank you for keeping a date with me today on Business and Finance. Till I come your way next week, goodbye.